I died again. Man, that line for the milk was long. So, my computer died. It took me like 4 months to get a new one because computers are expensive and I have no money. But it's okay because I've got one now and I can get back to making videos again. I started a Megamix project. It was going really well, but I ran into a roadblock and then I realized actually it's gonna take me like a week to cut the stickers, so screw that, I'm gonna do a quicker build. So I wanna do another 3x3 mod today. My last two were 3x3 mods. They were the Octagonal Barrel and the Fisher Cube, and they're really good starter projects if you wanna get into modifying puzzles. But I want to do something a little more advanced now because I really want to show you what you can do once you master these techniques with a humble 3x3, some epoxy sculpt, and a bandsaw and belt sander. Also look at this, I got a coffee machine and I put it down here in the workshop because it gives me one less reason to leave the workshop and leave the mentality of the projects that I built. I have had 6 of these now. So I'm going to start with nothing particularly special. I have to tighten up the puzzle before I take it over to my bandsaw, and that requires taking all of the center caps off and then using a screwdriver to tighten up the puzzle before you take it over to the bandsaw. In case you haven't learnt that in the last fucking decade. I don't even know why I got a screwdriver out. I can just use this thing. 1, 2,
12 seconds later.
7. Wait, what? Wow, it's really bright. I'm blind now. So now that's all tightened up, I don't really know what it is I'm going to build, but then that's half the fun. So what I'm thinking is, let's just start cutting. Anybody else got deja vu right now? That looks kind of cool, doesn't it? I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's gonna be cool. We'll see what happens. Gotta keep you guessing, I can't give you everything. Yeah, except the picture of the puzzle that I built, which is in the thumbnail. Which I don't know yet, by the way, because I'm just making this up as I go along, much like my life. And it's working out just fine.
I disassembled the puzzle as you would expect, and I went around with a blade, getting rid of all of the flashing and melted plastic that gets kicked up by the bandsaw. After I did that, I glued down all of the caps on the inside of each of the pieces before I started filling everything. I broke out the epoxy sculpt and I mixed up enough to fill all of the pieces. As I was filling them, I used a blade to scrape off any excess, which turned out to be a bad thing, but at the time it seemed like a good idea. As I filled all the pieces, I laid them down in a baking tray and then I took them upstairs and I put them in my oven, which has a conveniently marked cure temperature, because I use an oven to cure things. Look, here's the deal. Epoxy sculpt cures quicker in a hot environment. It's a chemical reaction, you add heat, it happens faster. So I did that, took it back downstairs, and then I put everything back together.
Okay, so what I have done is I have reassembled everything, as I just said, but I've also rotated the center layer by 45 degrees. Now there's a reason behind that. I thought it looked cool, and that is enough reason to do it. There is a problem, however. I am going to have to extend out a few of these edge pieces that I cut down. That's just because I didn't know I was going to be half turning anything, but it's okay because I'm only going to have to do it on 1, maybe 2. Not going to be a problem. So now I'm going to take it over to the belt sander, start sanding everything down. Okay, this is going to be a little more complicated than I first thought.
After I'd finished sanding down all the faces, I marked out the areas that I was going to have to repair, and then I started scoring up all the pieces that were going to be extended. After I did that, I took everything apart and then I extended all those pieces. This is a fairly self-explanatory process. This is what it looked like when it was done. I should probably point out that I'm gonna have to fill all of these centerpieces as well. There's 4 of them. I had to sand down a little beneath where the center cap comes out to, and so these areas will be filled with epoxy sculpt, and then I'm just gonna leave the screw uncovered because when I put the sticker over, you won't really be able to see it. After all those pieces were hardened, I took them over to my belt sander and I sanded down just the inside surfaces, that way I could reassemble everything, and then I would deal with the outside surfaces. So now that I have everything assembled, you can see the shape starting to come together. I actually cut these off on the bandsaw. I'm going to do the same to the other side. I need to bring the camera over. I missed filming the extending process, but look, you guys know how it goes. You pile on the epoxy sculpt and then you sand it down. Alright, so this is what we got. Doesn't it look cool? I love the slope up like this. And the octagonal kind of stretched surface here and here. That just looks really cool. It's also a cutter cube because this layer here is offset by 45 degrees. Just a lot of really interesting stuff going on. Now what I'm going to do is there's a couple pieces that need to be repaired, but they don't need to be repaired so much that I have to take the puzzle apart and then put it back together again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take everything apart, I'm going to round over all the pieces, finish them all off, and then I'm going to sticker them one by one as I'm reassembling the puzzle. I actually prefer stickering pieces one by one as I'm putting puzzles back together. It just means I can kind of focus on the stickers a little more. I just find it ends up having a better result. And I'm also going to repair all the pieces that need to be repaired as I'm doing all of that. So everything is happening in one big step. So let's get to it. There we go. And to round over all of the pieces, I will have some Scotch-Brite. And instead of the normal nail files, look, I got these ones. They're 80 grit on either side. Really hard to find good 80 grit nail files. And also I'm going to use a sanding block, the Holy Trinity. Sometimes my befuddlement is so weird that I genuinely cannot edit around it. And so I didn't. And here it is, the puzzle is finally done. I started this project with literally no idea what I was trying to build, and that's the point of my last 2 videos. The octagonal barrel and the fish cube video aren't really supposed to be tutorials, but I did explain everything in more depth than I needed to. That way you would have one place to go if you wanted to learn the basics before you could just jump into a project like this. It's no secret that I repeat myself in a lot of my projects, showing the exact same process of mixing up epoxy sculpt or piling it on pieces, and I'm trying not to do that because it makes videos easier to produce and to get out faster. All you need to do is start cutting and start figuring out where it's gonna go, and there are no mistakes. It's just evolution of design, as long as you make it seem like you meant to do that all along. And that's what I've got here. This is a really cool design, and I don't think I've ever seen it before. The middle layer is rotated by 45 degrees, and that means you have to quote-unquote unlock it before you can start making movements, but once you do, things start shapeshifting very quickly. There are a couple things I don't like. Say for example, you can actually see the hole where the screw goes in underneath the sticker. There's not really a way that I can fix this other than putting some kind of cap in there, and so I just left it the way it is, but I'm gonna have to work out how to fix that in another video. This is not a particularly difficult puzzle to solve, as most 3x3 mods aren't, but still, it looks really cool when scrambled, and it's also a bit of a challenge. There are a couple pieces that you can't tell if they're flipped, but not as many as the Fisher Cube or the Octagonal Barrel, so I guess it's easier. But I don't really solve these things, I just build them. So I guess I better get back to work and build something else. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.